Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Those of you who have listened to me for a while, you know that I'm a former high school baseball coach and a huge San Francisco Giants fan. So I'm really excited today. My guest is Rob Brantly. He's the current catcher for the Giants. Rob, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to be on here.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
Hey, so let's talk a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from, who you are, kind of just give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm from Southern California. Grew up mostly in a place called Temecula Valley. And went to high school out here, Chaparral High School, and then graduated in 2008, where I got to go on scholarship to UC Riverside, which is Inland Empire, which is not too far away from home here in Temecula. I was a draft eligible sophomore in 2010, where I was drafted by the Giants and started my professional career, where I went from the Giants. Then I got traded to Miami. Then I went over to the White Sox. White Sox made my way to the Mariners. After the Mariners, made my way to the Reds. After I made my way to the Reds, went back to the White Sox. And then after that, I went to, who's next? See, there was the Braves, there was Cleveland after that, Philly, and now the Giants. There's my story.
So full circle, right back to the Giants, huh? Well, that's awesome. Drafted? Can you you said you were drafted by the Giants. Were you drafted by the Giants?
I said Freudian slip. I was drafted by Detroit.
Oh, by that. Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't realize that. Yeah, when you said that, but all good. So, can you tell us a little bit about that process? About from starting in high school and getting into the big leagues. What did it take to do that? How did you make that happen?
I mean, I remember one day in high school, like I did tell my dad that it kind of became real for me that I could actually pursue baseball as as a career to play professionally. When I started first getting looked at by local scouts in high school, I was fortunate to have some good games in front of the right people. Just a matter of circumstance at that point, but kind of put me in the right circles and got me looked at by some good colleges. So when I graduated, I was already committed to go to UC Riverside on scholarship. I was fortunate to get drafted. I think I was drafted in the 42nd round to the Nationals. Decided to take my scholarship instead and see what a couple of years of growth would do for me in the upcoming draft. There are two 2 years later. I was able to improve my draft status over the time, so it kind of worked out. But it wasn't so much like I had my eye on the prize, of being a big leaguer. It was more of a step at a time for me, just to kind of soak up what I can get out of each spot I was in. How can I maximize my time here? As I was a freshman, I got to go play for the varsity team, fortunately, and I was okay, how can I maximize this experience? Same thing when I got to college. Okay, how can I maximize this and be competitive here? And by the right circumstances and the right games, and just kind of putting yourself in the right positions, you get seen up by the right people, and it just kind of step by step from there.
So one of the things that you talked about a lot is like you've been with quite a few different teams. How does that make you kind of mess with you a little bit, because you get traded from team to team, but you continue to persevere? Because that's what I love about your story, is that you've gone from all these different teams, but you continue to push through it. How does that play in your head?
It's funny. Some people kind of see it as like kind of like a tougher road, and in a lot of ways, I get it. Like you got to meet new people, make new impressions. Not only with your play, but like with how you introduce and show yourself as a person and a teammate. But I mean, by this point, I've done it so many times that it is the norm for me. To get in and to try and make good, quick impressions on people, and I don't know. That's just kind of what it's been for me. My career. Like the team I was drafted with, I was traded 2 years later. Over to Miami. I was with them for 2 years. It's just something I'm used to, I guess. I haven't really found a home like some players have been with organizations for 6, 7, some of their whole careers, and that's their norm. And when they get traded, it's just, it's a little bit different for them.
So do you enjoy kind of being a journeyman? Is that something that, or is it kind of tough to do, to move that often? How does that process go every time you got to move?
That process is out of my control, right? You could be playing well, you could be playing poorly. Like if you're playing well, some team wants you to get traded. If you're playing poorly, then some team might want to get ready to make space for someone who's playing well at the time, and another team finds you. How do you handle that? It's something out of your control. So you take care of the things that you can. You reassess, what's my next step? What's my next move? Ask yourself how you're going to handle it. For me, I think the best part is I've never been reactive in that process. I've always been able to kind of take a step back and assess. I think it's probably one of the attributes you learn while being a catcher, because, it's what you do. You assess situations, you see the whole field, and, try and see what position is going to help, put your pitcher, put your team in the best position to succeed, and try and do the same thing, with my own game personally.
Yeah, and that's what, one of the things that I really love about baseball is, even though you fail so much, it makes you really get back in there, even just like when you strike out, or when, something just doesn't go your way, there's that opportunity. I've heard it 100 times about, a good batting average being 300. Well, you fail 7 out of 10 times. So what do you take from, do you try to take something from every single place that you've been, have you learned a lot more from going from different team to team? I'm sure you've learned under a bunch of different coaches, a bunch of different processes and things like that.
Yeah, countless teammates, a lot of coaches. I think that it would be at my detriment if I didn't try and take something from each place, because each part is a step in not just like my career, but in my life. And you never want to look back at a time and just say that was horrible. I want to erase that. So you try and find the best takeaways, and sometimes the best takeaways even come from those failures, and you can improve upon them, or even just learn to be mentally tough about them, and the next time situations like that pop up, you're a little bit tougher, mentally, physically, you can handle it a lot better.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that is, I can hear that in your mindset, that failure is not something that will hold you back. And obviously that's something that you've learned from someone. Is there someone that you can tell us about that probably put that mentality in your head? Is it all from within? Is there, did your parents have a big push in that, or where did you get this mentality from?
Oh man. I would say a lot of my mentality stems back to the lessons of my father. like we were best friends growing up. Me and my dad, we spent a lot of time together, probably more than the average. He was constantly with me, and he knew that I loved to play, so much so that I remember one day when I was like 7, he had a talk with me, and he said, Rob, playing catch and hitting is something you like doing, because I'll do it with you anytime you ask. Like, I'll be there to do that for you and to do that with you. He goes, but at this point in your life, I think you're old enough now. If you want to do it, you can come to me and ask. I don't have to, the other way, have him come and ask me to come play catch. And from an early age, like he made sure that like it was coming from me. It was something I wanted. So, like with that, like I took ownership, from that point on about, how I was going to approach, playing baseball, and it's always been fun for me. Like when I asked to play with him, it was for fun, right? Because I enjoyed it. So whenever I go to the field, I know that I signed that contract because I wanted to play, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make the absolute best of it.
I love that, because I think that, a lot of things that I saw coaching was there was parents that were pushing kids to do things that they didn't want to do, where your dad made it your choice. So that's great that you were able to make that decision on your own. And I guarantee that's what makes you want to do more. So let's talk a little bit about the season here. How is that going for you? How is the preparation for the season? It's got to be a tough one. You talked a lot about like controlling, and I really love hearing that, because that's something that I talk about a lot, but like controlling what you can control. So what are you doing to control the situation for yourself so that you're ready if they do go?
Oh man. As you can see, like I showed you before this podcast started, I've kind of tried to almost create a clubhouse inside of my own garage. Like you can see, I'm sitting in what I call the recovery zone. This is right. I think here you could see the ice bath that I went out and got. You can see I have my soft tissue section over there for the physical prep, and the strength and conditioning section of my garage right over there. So like I've collected this over time, so I'm very fortunate. Even when this quarantine first started to have this available, a lot of guys didn't. I saw a lot of guys getting really creative, like with water jugs and water bottles to try and physically stay active and fit. But I've had this, so I've been very fortunate. I've also been fortunate to have some places available that are out in the wineries in Temecula. So it's out in the open, but really nice batting cage is set up there where I can socially distance and still get really good work in. Now that some things have eased up as far as, opening of like some batting cages, I'm able to, go ahead and get some more, I guess, elevated, skill prep with like live at bats. I've driven all over to Newport from Temecula, hour away. I'll drive to San Diego to get pitchers that actually, play with the Giants organization. I'll catch their bullpens. So I'm getting live reads. I'll do live at bats against them. So I'm starting to get at bats now. But like, it was on me, right, to make that happen. Right. If I wanted to get that kind of work in to stay ready, and I had to get creative, and I had to, like if I want to be ready, I have to be willing to put in, the work as far as like, getting down to Newport or getting, to San Diego to catch bullpens or calling guys and setting up bullpens. And, they're doing the same, of course, to stay ready. But, you got to get creative and just do anything you can.
Yeah, and it's pretty much in your control. I mean, you've got some big shoes to fill trying to back up Buster, and I bet that probably drives you a little bit more, because I was reading a book, one of Joe Montana's books, and he was talking about how they wanted him to train Steve Young, and he was like, why would I train my replacement? It's kind of one of those deals where his replacement should want to have to work hard enough to make that happen. So that's awesome that you're working on that.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So there's quite a few talented individuals in that clubhouse. How do you feel being in there? Is it different? Is there a different situation from any other clubhouse that you've been in? Is it just a little different kind of vibe?
Man, I felt like coming into this clubhouse this spring training, like I got along with these guys great. I think the spring training was going really well as far as, ramping up for the season, and the team I felt like was really coming together and gelling. Kind of like this, like culture that we were creating there, just like this, like, shared vision for the season. And it was a shame that it came to such an abrupt halt.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm sure. I know that you weren't there when Bochy was there, and that was it's a completely different environment, I'm sure, because from what I've seen, I know that you played a little bit with Kapler last year, right? So, and I'm sure you can't really talk about how Bochy was, but what do you like about Kapler? Because he obviously brought you over, or I would think he brought you over because But how do you like having him as a coach?
He's a big part of why I wanted to come over to the Giants. I loved playing for him over with Philly, and I spent the majority of my time with him, like in spring training, and I got to know him then. But he's got one of the most guys that with the most follow through I've ever met in my life. Like, he stays in contact with you, like wants to know how you're doing, and he wants to get to know you personally and just kind of like get to know your process, so like he can help you be like the best version of yourself. And like his follow up is amazing, and he makes you feel as if at that moment, like you're the most important thing in his moment right there. You know what I mean? And like it like elevated my sense of like how I should even be approaching other people and like improve my follow up with people and stuff like that. And like, how can I help other people? How can I help my teammates? How can I help elevate them with this type of follow through? And, like with that, like he was a good role model for me. And, I was happy that I was able to get with the Giants so I could be back with him.
So he kind of leads by example, it sounds like. And that's awesome, because that does that as a coach, you always want those kids. You've got to set that example. You've got to make it so that they're willing to follow you, because if they don't, then they don't have any trust in you. They never will. So that's great to hear. I know it's kind of tough. I was at Bochy's last game last year. That was the game that I got to go to. So it was really exciting to see that whole thing unwind. And as a Giants fan, it was interesting to see kind of where they were going with their picks and things like that. And at first I was a little like, you didn't know because of, how the whole situation went down with him in Philly. And then now I just feel like we're in such a great place. I say we, and I'm not even on the team, but I feel like the Giants are in a great place with him at the helm. So it would have been really exciting to see that happen. I hope that you get to play a few games this year.
I hope so too. And you're a part of it, man. You're wearing the banner. Our fans are always there with us. You know what I mean? That's the biggest part. That's another part. There might be no fans, but we know that the spirit of San Francisco is there. You know what I mean? And, that's a big reason why we play. And that's a big motivating factor for us. So
did you ever have a chance to play there? Have you played there before with another team at Oracle?
I have. I got to play when I was with Miami.
Okay. What was that like for you? Is it different in Miami than it is in San Francisco a little bit? I would assume so.
I would assume those are two different. You got Miami, obviously it's vacation destination, always hot, humid, beach weather. And you got the Bay Area. It's cold, man. It's cold year round, but it's beautiful, beautiful city. I enjoyed the time I spent there, man, and I'm happy that I get to call that home this year.
Yeah, well, that's exciting to have you there. And I don't have your jersey back here, but that's just because you're a new guy. So now I feel like I got to go get your jersey. So, I mean, I've talked to a couple. What's that?
That'd be an honor. That's good. I said that'd be an honor. That's good company back there.
Yeah, I got it. There's some great guys back there. Will Clark was kind of my number one when I was a kid, so I'm a little bit older than you. But I got to watch him in the Battle of the Bays.
I had an autographed Will Clark bat above the door in my room.
Oh, that's awesome.
When I was growing up as a kid, yeah.
He's a pretty exciting guy. I like listening to him talk because he's just that old school vibe, and he's no nonsense kind of dude. It
Right?
seems like, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, baseball mentality.
Yeah. So what do you think one of the biggest strengths that you're going to bring to the Giants this year is if you can get in there and it works out? What's your biggest strength for that team? Tough question, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, because then you got to kind of toot your own horn. But I mean, like my strengths, like I've always been like a good offensive producer with the bat, like throughout my career. I've always done well with that. But like I've really progressed defensively along the way as well. And, I feel like I'm getting to a point in my career where I'm starting to put the package together. So I'm excited to do that this year, just bring it from both sides of the field and be able to help the team win some ball games.
Well, it's awesome too that you're a catcher, and when you get in there, you can hit left-handed because they can always throw you in there when they need a left-handed bat. So that's pretty sweet too.
I'll always be ready for it.
Yeah. So before we get to the last question here, can you tell us if anyone wants to follow you, where's the best place to find you? I know you got an Instagram account, and there's a lot of good stuff going on there, but what's the best place to kind of follow what's going on with you?
I mean, if you want to follow my life personally, I'm definitely most active on Instagram as Baseball Brant 67. My Twitter has been hacked for like the last 2 years. We're still trying to figure out how to fix it. I don't know. It might be getting to the point where I have to like restart the account, but they're still working on it. I still hold that hope that we can get that back on. But yeah, man, I love interaction. If you guys ever, just for the people listening, want questions or want to talk, whatever, I'm always open to it. You can ask me about my posts. I love posting about my processes. There'd always be some sort of strength and conditioning, baseball, skill work, or, just even some life stuff mixed in there. But yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's some pretty crazy stuff on there. I don't know that I would be tough enough to try some of that stuff yet. I need to hit the rest of the weights and everything, get going on that kind of thing. Okay, so
yeah, one day at a time, man.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it is. It's one of the things that I like about this show is I had a guest on last week that was talking about how it doesn't matter what the process is. You got to take that first step. You got to take that baby step and decide what your end goal is and work it backwards one at a time. So, okay. So this is kind of the last question I ask every guest this. Success is different for every person. And my show is called Shaping Success because I think that it's something that people need to see, that there's a definition of success is different for every single person. So can you tell us how you define success? So like, what is the shape of your success?
The shape of my success, I go back to controlling the things that I know I can. I go back to my processes. I even write down, like usually before a day begins, like, what's the one thing that I could get done today that makes all the rest of the things easier to do once I get it done. And like, I'll check all those boxes. I feel like I have a pretty successful day. As far as building, myself towards my goals, of, being a Major League Baseball player. So each day I get to put together a perfect brick. I consider that a success. I feel successful after that moment. Do I define success as the end goal? I don't think so. I think if you put success as a result-oriented thing, like, once you achieve it, then like, where do you go from there? You know what I mean? Success for me has always just been about like shaping my life to be the best person I can be the best person I can be for myself, for my family, for my wife, for my kids. As cheesy as it sounds, like that's always brought me more happiness than the other stuff. So that's, that for me, that's what I define success as.
I love that because it basically means that you leave everything you got out there on the field. No matter what happens, you're okay with it because you knew that you did everything you could. So.
Oh man, it's my favorite thing. I tell myself like, okay, I'm going to empty the tank. I'm going to literally pour my heart out onto the field this day, today, so I have this day. I'm just going to empty it, and that's the approach going into the game.
Well, I'm very excited to see what happens. I really hope that they get some sort of season going this year so that we can actually see you play. Even if there's no fans, I'll be watching it on TV. I know that. So I wanted to say thank you for taking time out of your day to do this. I know that you have a wife and a couple kids that you kind of took a little bit of time away from. So I really appreciate that. And hopefully you can thank them for me for doing that.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Talking ball, it helps me scratch that itch, man, because, I miss it. And I can't wait to get back out there as well, for myself to play and for the fans to watch, and to be back out there with my team. And, yeah, I just appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, we'll have you back again, I'm sure. So thank you very much.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, everyone.
Bye.
Yep, we'll talk to you. Yep. All right, everyone. Well, that's the end of the show. I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to watch. If you have a chance, please share this episode if you can. It'll be uploaded on the podcast. Give it a 5-star review. Help me to get this pushed out so people who can find value in it can use it. Until next time, I want to challenge you to find the shape of your success.
This was Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502. 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.